All right. We're back for another live segment of the Counselor's Corner on Facebook Live. Also featuring a segment of Hanging with Herbert. So that will be in place tonight as well. Um, see Herb joined. Good evening, Herb. Hopefully you'll be calling in. Uh, Marcia, thanks for joining me tonight. Noni Bradbury, thanks for joining me tonight in the Counselor's Corner. So I'm going to get started because the purpose is, again, is for me to only go to an hour long. Don't really want to extend it past that, but we'll see how that plays out. Anitra, thanks for joining me. How you doing, Anitra? So, got it. Of course, I got a counselor's concern. Hey, Marcia. But before I get into my counselor's concern, tonight's topic is going to be basically, it's titled, How Can I Ease His Pain? So what we're going to be discussing is when a woman steps out on a man and he gets, his heart broken. And I'm going to, talk about a scenario and put everything into play based on this scenario that was called a blow for blow at the barber. Daphne, thanks for joining me. Lola Rogers, thanks for joining me. What's going on, Herb? Hey, Herb. All right. So let me get rolling with that. So my counselor's concern. Usually I have two or three. Uh, well, before I get to the concern, I had posted a couple posts about my new book that I'm working on. Pretty much finished. Just got to type it out. No Friday Foolishness. And typically what that is, I post like quotes or a statement every Friday morning, like like clockwork. Usually when I'm getting up, getting ready for work, I make a post. So I was asking for, people that follow those posts on a regular basis to send me, a testimony on your thoughts. Even if not, because, my thoughts kind of coexist between the show, No Friday Foolishness, Cocktail Conversations. Even if you don't follow the regular post on Fridays, even my Facebook Lives, just inbox me a testimony. And, it's going to be, I was looking for maybe 12 short ones to publish in my book. And, the people that end up doing it, we're going to have, was going to raffle off a couple items like this quick fit water bottle, which grateful that I posted a picture with me in my big damn jug of water, this water challenge, and they actually followed me on Instagram. So I said, hey, why not support to the cause and try to get other people involved? So they donated like 2 water bottles. So I was going to donate that. I also have like $10 Panera card, $50 Amazon card, Melvin T-shirts, cocktail conversations, the revised edition. So I was raffling off that. So what you basically got to do is just inbox me your thoughts on my No Friday Foolishness, as well as either my Facebook Live show in the Counselor's Corner. All right. Ebony Swanson, thanks for joining me. Daphne said, usually when a woman steps out on her man, it's because she is not getting her emotional needs met by her significant other. Okay, we gonna jump into that real soon. Sharita Lewis, thanks for joining me in the Counselor's Corner tonight. So I guess my concern is right quick, and this happens often, but this week, I done seen a couple posts or images of storylines of Kevin Garnett, if you know him, played basketball, KG, and his I guess his ex-wife. I guess he was ordered to pay her $100,000 a month for alimony and child support. So my concern about that is I just think sometimes the shit is ridiculous that the amount that some of these athletes have to pay, considering now, granted, Kevin Garnett had a long career. He played 19, 20 years, but I just don't think it's right for someone to get 100,000 a month, because if you need to get that much, then maybe, just maybe, you should give over full custody to KG so he could take care of the two kids, considering that you can't afford to take care of them and you need 100,000 in alimony and child support to get through. I don't like that. And to me, if I was a judge, this is how it would work out. I would find out when they met. So say, for example, if they met in their mid-20s, late 20s, whatever she was making, whatever you were grossing, and if he was rich, like an NBA player, he would just match that monthly salary, and that would be it. Sorry, that's just the way it has to be. I just don't think women should be benefiting off with that amount of money, 100,000 a month. It's almost to the point, and we know a lot of these players end up going into the damn poorhouse. And you have people, I just think I seen Kenyon Martin asking for a reduction in child support. Yeah, they make money good for a decent stretch, but then after that, when they get into their late 30s, early 40s, they trying to find stuff to do, and hopefully they was smart with their money. So that was just my concern. We could go on and on about that. Feel free to type in any comments. And people, I'm a little disappointed with the sharing of the live. I mean, I see tons of people. I shout out tons of people every time I go on, but yet and still, I only get a few shares. Come on, people. Come on. Got to do better. Got to do better. It's not killing you to share. And like I said before, because when all that nonsense is being shared, it's all good. When it's the jokes and all that stuff, man, I just got this computer cleaned out and I keep getting these pop-ups. I don't know what's going on. Marcia said, I personally feel that when a woman chooses to cheat, it's usually because she feels like her mate has left the relationship emotionally. And once her sexual needs are met, she will turn to another man who's able to satisfy her needs. Okay. So, Herbert, are you on here? Hanging with Herbert. I see your number is on the dashboard. I don't know. Well, I guess when you do come back in, then I'll bring you in for your segment. But right now, I'm going to keep this thing rolling.
My apologies, sir.
Okay. So, hanging with Herbert, you were going to talk about tonight, like politics and also, what you say, the disdain of blacks not voting.
Yes, man. It's an epidemic. I know we just had our school board election in May. That's a lot of other listeners well, first of all, let me thank all the people who've actually tuned in. And like David said, share the show. You know, we depend on other people such as yourself to share the show to get us exposure so we can grow this thing. But yeah, man, we just had our school board vote in May, and if other districts are set up like ours, the primary reason that the school board voting is situated where it is because they need to get the budget set and passed, and they have to bring the new members on and get those new members up to speed. And sometimes that requires them to take a trip to the Capitol so they can get involved in the programming. They can get up to speed to what the process requires, what the duties are, what they're allowed to do, and the type of things that they're allowed to engage in legally without causing them any not necessarily political blowback, but any type of blowback that gets them in legal problems. I think a lot of people are unaware what first time elected officials had to endure, and it's a steep learning curve. It's one of the things that I wanted to be able to go through, but unfortunately, in my 4 attempts to achieve an elected position, they never failed. But I learned a lot from that. But moving on. So that's one of the reasons why the school board voting is where it is, just in case anyone was unaware. But as a culture, we have some serious issues that we must address. We're disenfranchised, be it through our own actions in the political process. We don't vote. We don't get involved in politics. We think politics is for the other man. We think politics is for everybody else but us. And we seem to be lacking the understanding of what our elders went through to get us the right to be able to participate in politics. They were harmed, castrated, beaten, homes destroyed to maintain that power to leverage. And for us not to use that power, the power of the vote is a direct smack in the face and disrespectful to all the things that they have done. And I wrote something on Facebook, and I'm going to read it, and I'll give me a second while I get it up.
All right, go ahead. Well, while you're getting it up, Herbert, what crosses my mind, I think with some of us as a culture, as far as voting, we may, you hear people tend, and I had said it before, I used to think it like, what really changes? So some people kind of feel like it doesn't matter who's in office or, no matter what scale it is, whether it's city officials, board members, government officials, they feel like nothing ever changed, and that may be because people may feel like they're lacking hope and despair, and they feel like nothing has ever changed their whole life, so they feel like there's no need for them to vote.
Well, I'm going to rattle off some statistics, and these are going to hit home close to where you are. So just bear that in mind as I read what I'm getting ready to read. As a culture, African Americans are openly being used as a piñata by Republicans and Democrats alike. We need to collectively ask ourselves and think critically about what we need to advance our cause so we can escape this malaise we're currently mired in. If you don't know what our issues are, then look around your neighborhood. What do you want to improve? You're still uncertain? How much money do you make versus someone else, your age, gender, and education? Is it more, equal, or less? Does your local school board system support your children? Does your local school system put your children in the best position to succeed? Can you afford to live in any neighborhood you desire that your income allows? Can you live comfortably in your current neighborhood? Do you fear your local police? Are your taxes going to improve your quality of life? Do you feel valued? Can you acquire employment that pays a living wage? Do you approve of the laws, judges, chiefs of police, or district attorney in your city, county, and state? Any other concerns about your quality of life that you want or feel need to be improved can be added to this list. Hold those in position to the standards that we are held to. And I think a lot of people don't understand that we as African Americans, and more specifically African American males, and I'm always going to try to get my message towards the improvement of African American males because we are on the bottom rung of society. And it feeds into our culture being inverted. And what I mean by being inverted is this. We consistently hear the message about Black men can't lead. And nobody looks at the underlying causes of why we can't lead. Our communities are being led by our women. Our communities are built so they never, ever achieve the level of success that we had in the mid-1900s when Black men were very employed and that Black people had the highest marriage rate in the country. You heard me correctly. If you don't believe me, you can research that. Now you look at our marriage rates currently, and they're about 30%. Black women are on the lowest rung in terms of being married, and that's at 26%. But still, we're having kids out of wedlock at a rate that's unprecedented. That helps to feed our culture and makes things impossible for progression. Now, I picked out a city that I thought typified what my point is, and that's Baltimore. Baltimore is 64% Black. Yet and still, the rate of poverty among Black people there is high at 26%. So you ask yourself, how can we as a group progress if one of the most if one of the most quote unquote blackest cities doesn't wield the economic force and political force that it can? There is no way in the world that the education levels, the issues with any police should not be rectified immediately. And this is where voting comes in. People don't realize that your mayor chooses your chief of police. So if you're not voting and you're leaving that power to somebody else to decide, they get to decide who polices your neighborhood, who gets hired. Just here in Niagara Falls, they were lamenting about the issues of the civil service exam being opened up, the date being posted rather, and the time they had to recruit. I'm not going to say that's done intentionally, but it certainly hurts minority candidates when it comes time to recruit them. And you, as an African-American male, would love to have somebody in your neighborhood give you a break. Let's say you riding in your car late night and you don't blow through a stoplight, but you kind of slow roll a stoplight. Police pulls you over, feels like you've been drinking, they give you a field sobriety test. Now, that officer at that point, when you fail, has the discretion to arrest you, impound your car, or they can let you go with a warning. And I'll give you a story from my life. About 20 years ago, before I had my driver's, no, about 25, 26 years ago, before I had my driver's license, I went out with a couple coworkers in Lewiston. At that time, I didn't drink. We were coming back. State park police gets behind us. The guy was swerving a little bit, pulls him over. Now, everybody else in the car had been drinking, except me. He gave the guy a field sobriety test and he failed. So he came back to the car and said, is there anybody in here who have not been drinking? I said, I have, officer. He said, do you have a license? I said, no, but I can drive. He said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you guys a break. He said, you hop up in here and you drive. I don't want to see y'all anymore tonight. We managed to get home with no ticket. They didn't get arrested. Their insurance rates didn't go up. All of the things that could happen conversely if he had been arrested. This is one of the major reasons why it's important that we get involved, is because that gives us back some power, just like with the Freddie Gray situation. Although it could have been avoided, the officers were found, I believe, they were indicted by the grand jury. The investigation ensued, and they were found not guilty, I believe, or something to that extent. But those are the reasons why we need to get involved in the voting process in anything political, whether it's state, whether it's local, state, or federal, because your local government has so much power that if you don't understand it, then you're going to get washed aside. We see that now with the immigration talk, and I had this discussion with a friend of mine about 2 weeks ago. She resides in Texas now, and one of the questions I asked her was about immigration down there, or more specifically illegal immigration, and she said it's tough. She said there are restaurants that you go into that if you don't speak Spanish, that they will not talk to you, they won't take your order, they won't do anything. And I'm saying to myself, they're showing us their lack of regard for us. And we are advocating for them to come into this country so they can push us aside and continue to displace us. This is not as much as a human interest story, at least for me, as it is an economic issue. They're competing with us for jobs. It's economic survival. And people, we need to understand that we need to get on board and be collective despite all our differences between males, females, the have and the have-nots. We need to be able to push forward together so that we can improve our collective situation. We can leave all that side bricking and stuff for another day, because those issues more often than not are always going to be there. But we have to address our culture. And our culture, women teach, men protect. But we have to ask ourselves, what are our women teaching? Are they teaching their daughters how to read? Are they teaching their sons how to read? Or are they teaching them how to twerk and how to stand on the corner and become drug dealers? How to become failures? Are they actually preparing them to live life, to move into the workforce and become productive citizens? Those are the questions we need to ask. And I was chastised for actually bringing up some of these issues when the last time I ran for school board, which was 2017. I said, these are issues that are dear to me, because I understand what it means to be without. Because a lot of people don't realize I dropped out of high school, and if it wasn't for the local community center in my neighborhood, I probably would have never went back. Because one of the things that they said was, if you're not in school, you can't be here. That was one of the greatest impetus for me to go back and graduate high school, which I did. And for me, that was one of the biggest accomplishments I have ever had in life, because it gave me the foundation to build upon. But a lot of these kids don't have that, particularly black males. In our city, in Niagara Falls, New York, our graduation rate is 60%. And most of those kids that don't graduate are minority males. So this is what they talk about when they say the prison to the the school to prison pipeline. If you can't read, you can't fill out a job application. You can't fill out a job application. You're more often than not going to be able to get a job, let alone actually be able to interview well to be considered for employment. I see applications often written by people that their penmanship is poor, they can't write well, they can't spell. And I'm thinking, how are you actually going to get employed if you can't do the basics well? 2 years ago with my mentoring program, we had our basketball team sitting in there, and all of them range in ages from 14 to 16. Not that I'm done saying, look, I said, soon your mothers are going to put you out the house. That's just the nature of black families. I already knew the answers before I asked, but I just wanted to see what they were going to say. I said, what are you guys going to do for money? Inevitably, about 90% of them raised their hand and said, we're going to sell dope. I said, what do you think that's going to where do you think that's going to leave you when the police get you? You have no money, no means of supporting yourself. So when you get locked up, what are you going to do? I said, this is why it's important that as hard as school might be for you, that you stay in the school, you stay the course. Because once you get that diploma, it allows you and affords you so many other opportunities that you would not have otherwise. I'm going to preach this. Women, if you had a son and you are struggling with him while he's young, seek out a male authority and don't stand in that male authority way. The most difficult thing for a woman to do is to let go of her son. You have to. You have to for his benefit. You have to for the benefit and the future of our people. Because if we don't have strong men, we do not have a community. And the way Western culture is moving now, they're making being quote unquote masculine toxic. And I think that's just asinine. I'm not even really going to address that tonight. I'll leave that for another time, another show. But we have to get together. We have to be able to educate our own and move forward.
Well, let me interject on that. Well, Herb, I want to keep you on. Like I said, the segment is going to be 15 minutes long, and you know, the ladies on here, you can respond, you know, get caught up on the thread on some of their commentary that they want to address. But one of the things that kind of piggyback on that, I mean, as a counselor in a system, I know that we need to kind of focus more on social issues, but the main emphasis is academics, grades, because that bring in that federal money and things like that. So a lot of these problems tie into the regular day-to-day social issues that we have, which seems to kind of multiply even when we get older. And this is why you see some of the things happening in the community. But, you know, that subject is always going to be there. I'm going to go back to the original topic of why we're here, because I know some people.
I see something coming at the bit to get to it, so go ahead, man.
Let's get down to the.
Somebody taught me something. Somebody, you know what? Let me read this. So it provides a good segue for you to get back into the discussion. So you have my man Fred G want to say, let's get to the meat and potatoes, doesn't matter. Nothing else. All right, let me read this one because somebody shot me this. You've taken my joy, the ultimate prize. You let another man between your thighs and expect my eyes to stay dry. Just because it happens out of sight of the public eye, you may think it a lie. That hurt men cry.
I like these five. And sometimes when I take 5 men in the butt, I like to run. Sometimes it hurts a little. But I do tend to squirt a little. You know, it's like take 5 partners at once, right? I'm a bit of an exhibitionist. What do you think, man?
Damn singer resign up.
Looks like you're doing black, Dave.
Yeah, that's all right. I got him. I got him.
You want to continue on, young man? Go ahead.
Oh, they're out of here now.
We'll entertain you for a second. Go ahead. Continue reading.
Oh, no, you go ahead. Finish that if you're done.
I'm done.
Okay. So let me give a shout out. Shauna Ward, thanks for joining. Danielle Wood, thanks for joining. And Jonathan.
Oh, Dave, I'm sorry. Dave, did you cut them?
Oh, yeah, they're cut. Yeah, and Jonathan Robinson.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Oh, no, I wasn't done. I thought that was the dude. I couldn't distinguish the voice. Okay, let me get back to finishing that. You may think it a lie that hurt men cry. Yes, I shed my tears. A weak man doesn't instill fear. He's emasculated, his masculinity eviscerated, leaving him weak and unable to stand on his own. What's an empty home that resembles a king without a throne? A sullen dove that can't fly. When Jim Croce wrote the song Operator, do you truly believe no tears were flowing? Remaining in an intoxicated stupor for days, disturbed by fits of rage. The only friend that could prove any solace was his trusted friend Jim, not the best of tonic. Broken bones heal. They grow back stronger. Stormy weather passes. Cut grass grows back. Ever hear the adage, it's easier to build strong bones than to repair broken men?
There.
That's what infidelity does. It breaks men. Imagine an adversary you can't defend against. Imagine trying to climb out of a 10-foot tall barbed wire fence.
Hashtag
Imagine infidelity, the aftermath. You can't circumvent it. Morning dew on grass is welcome. It helps it to grow. Residue on the male spirit obliterates the ego, leaving no glow. A man with no ego is akin to a star with no light. Like a bastard child no one wants to take in, to the orphanage they go. No one knows how this life will end.
And that's it's a lot to that. And I guess people have to think about, and I know some women, their mindset may be like, well, men step out all the time. So would it be considered karma? But also, I think the ramifications when it happens to a man, I can't I guess you can't minimize either one. Pain is pain, but speaking from a man's perspective, and from the stuff that I read up and, just, growing up through it and listening to other older guys or friends, it's a painful thing. And we wonder why, like, we struggle with some of the dynamics that we have in our family. So, like I keep saying all along, these idiots keep calling in, but they.
Yeah, sometimes I like to take Botox instead of my rectum,
They're gonna keep getting cut off. They ain't got nothing to do. But we're gonna move on and start tackling some of these points. What's going on, J. Rob? You said LA's rocking with me. You got to let me know how they rocking with me, because I would love to be rocking with LA. I rock with the Lakers, though. So, how can I ease the pain? I talked about 4 essential points, but I'm gonna start with the scenario. So Ray is at the barbershop and shares with the guys that his wife stepped out on him with another guy. She did not sleep with the guy, just gave him head, but Ray decided to forgive her and they remained together. Meanwhile, the next week when Ray comes in for his appointment, the guys are sitting around after the shop closes, and Keon asks Ray, how does it feel to kiss his wife after knowing she went down on another man? Ray walks out to calm himself down. So the question is, what do you think is going to happen once Ray goes home and sees his wife? So one of the big things is, like what the women said, like either he's going to move on or not. By him saying he forgave her, then, I guess he can't go home cutting a fool. I say his biggest mistake was coming to the barbershop running his mouth. But also I understand that sometimes as men, you have to find those spaces that you can, that you may feel comfortable with, sharing painful situations. I just don't know if it's the barbershop. Sometimes it could be, your brother, a homeboy, somebody, pastor, maybe a ex-coach or something, but you have to have that space to be able to get that off your chest. And I don't know why he chose the barbershop and for another grown man to kind of, because I think it showed courage for him to share that, and therefore a grown man to kind of instigate the situation is, it's messed up. But that's the thing, you never know when you put information out there. And that's why when, I'm amazed when you see people venting and putting everything out on social media, and that some people are just sitting back ready to use that as use that against you, use it as a tool to kind of throw back up in your face. But, that's what happens sometimes. Carol, good evening.
Yes, adding insult to injury.
Yeah, and that's, and it's hard, and you want to be able to have those moments that you can be vulnerable and you can share with someone. I mean, I guess in this situation he could be vulnerable with his wife, but at the same time, I guess he probably needed to feel validated by someone else. Maybe he was looking to bring that up at the barbershop for someone to say, oh, dog, man, that happened to me, man. And you know what? We still rolling together. We've been together 10 years after that. Shit happens or whatever. I mean, that's what I can look at, almost think that would be the reason why someone would bring that information up, like in a setting like that. Marcia say Ray shouldn't have never had that type of discussion about what his wife had done with another guy at the barbershop, where these guys didn't have his best interest at heart. Yeah, and he found out that these guys did. Now, don't get me wrong, some barbers, they could be like counselors. Like I always make the example of my brother Dietrich, had been cutting grown man hair since he was like 12. And I would be amazed to see these grown men, and this was as he was getting older, like 14, 15, 16, and they're dropping grown man information about their relationships to a 15, 16-year-old kid. But I guess it was a time that they were comfortable, at peace, getting their hair, getting lined up, getting a nice haircut, and they just wanted to get stuff off their chest. So you have to have that space.
Not only that, I think what a lot of people underestimate, and you, depending on what circles you hang out in, you associate with, people detect good people, and as silly and contrite as it sounds, they do. I've been in a position where I've had complete strangers, and mind you, I've been in the service industry for at least 30 years, if not damn near close to it. And I've had complete strangers, whether they come in late night at the restaurant I was working at, or currently with my situation now where I'm employed at, I've had complete strangers just unload things on me that the ordinary person probably would never say. So people are able to detect a level of humaneness with people. And despite what I sound like on the phone when I'm discussing matters that are passionate to me, I'm not as hard as people make me out to be. Now I always tell people, and it's funny. This is going back to when you were on WKLJN.
Yes.
When I told the female, I said, look, I will invite you out, pay your plane ticket to come here, and you can judge for yourself as to what type of man I am. She flat out turned me down, only to later start making demands on what she was going to receive in terms of her flight. I said, sorry, that's not how this goes. But people are able to detect a kindred spirit. So bear that in mind.
Yeah. And that is true. Carol said, only older men give advice. These younger dudes, they're deaf. And Carol, and
she said, yeah, don't give up. She said, don't give up.
She said what?
She changed it up. She didn't mean that. She said they don't give up.
Oh, okay. All right. I missed that one. All right. So Danielle said she think Ray probably left the relationship. Hey, Nicole, how you doing? So yeah, these young people, you got to find a way to get through to them, and it's definitely hard. And usually in cases like that, people don't really give in until they hit the point of no return, where they have nowhere else to go, and they may feel like, man, this person has always been genuine. He always dropped the same message on me, and then that's when they may decide, I think it's time for me to listen, because shit, I'm in something that I can't get out of, instead of listening all along. But this is the generation that we're dealing with, and people say you got to be patient with them. You got to try to build relationships. It's definitely frustrating. It's definitely frustrating when you're talking to someone and when they think they're the old saying, they shit don't stink, and you can't get nothing across, and they have all the answers, and you're like, okay, it's like talking to deaf ears. So eventually a lot of people give up, and that's why a lot of guys say, I'm done with the mentoring thing. I don't want no parts of this. And they say, I'll focus on my children or nephews or whatever the case is, but I'm not about to just do this with random kids. So, we got a dilemma. Let me see what Danielle said. The barber, to vent and relieve that money found out about his wife. He will go home and bring it back up and forget he ever forgave her. A lot of men are unforgiving when it comes to infidelity. Deanna Stevens, the majority of men don't stay. Danielle said, I was continuing my comment and hit send accidentally. It's okay. I got what you're saying. So basically, I was saying that guys are unforgiving in situations like that. And it was a talking point that I had posted, and it was saying that a lot of guys can't get through it because of the visual images, or just to think that their woman are doing a play-by-play, thinking they're with another man. Like, a lot of them can't handle that. But then you also have to look at the side of it. Unless she was a virgin, she probably was with someone else anyways. But I guess the point of somebody kind of like stabbing you in your back and betraying you hurts like hell. So how do guys move forward when, like I said, we got a lot of guys walking around or driving around with a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, going into one relationship after another and can't get through this pain of disappointment from relationships, or it could be just not having good relationships with their mothers. So now they start looking at all females as the same.
You know, I'll tell you what, from a personal anecdote, I've been in that situation before, and when I found, and I won't get into the way I found out, but the guy that was messing around with the female I was dating was somebody that I hung out with. Now, I'm the type of person, I don't blame people. People do what they do for whatever reason. I'm more are you going to take ownership of your, are you going to take ownership for your actions? And that's how I looked at it. Now, it's funny. I look back in hindsight, and me being me, I'm going to be critical of the younger Herb. This occurred when I was about 30. I would have gotten back with that female only because I was emotionally invested. And for men to be emotionally invested in a woman is different than a woman being emotionally invested in a man, because we're wired differently. Women lead with their emotions first. So for a woman to become emotionally invested in a man really isn't that big of a deal. But when a man becomes emotionally invested, he's actually sold everything he's valued, everything he knows, and everything he's worth for her. So that's essentially, when a woman does it, it's essentially like a man having nothing left. He's invested his heart, his mind, his time, and depending on how long the relationship has progressed, his money. So just imagine taking all of that as a female and setting it on fire. What does a man have left?
It's tough. And some women have that approach, kind of like suck it up, or, I can't, stand a sensitive man, or don't want to see that man shed tears because he's hurt or devastated, or he's pretty much maybe in tears in front of you, like, how could you do this? How could you do this to me? And like Herbert said, I gave up everything to be with you. You were my world, and now some guys just could never rebound from that. They can't, and they really hit rock bottom and crash, whether it's abusing drugs and alcohol, or violence, or a lot of stuff manifests after it. But we still have to find ways to try to work these things out, and for guys to be forgiving. And I can share a little testimony as far as that myself. Danielle said that may explain the fear of commitment a lot of men face. Yeah, and it has a lot to do with that. And they may have one foot in and one foot out. And I can remember when I was young, and I was into this young lady. And me, I was always, I was raised from the female perspective. My mother, grandmother, had a lot of aunts. It was my grandfather, but he was talking, but he just talk shit to me, whatever. But no, I can't say that. I can't say that because, as we get older, we realize like, oh, he was a Rolling Stone. He put in his work, but mainly day to day, like what we were hearing, I was hearing from women's perspective. So I was really into this girl, and when we went off to college, she ended up cheating on me, and I felt like my world came to an end, was about to crumble because I really thought that was the one. Now, mind you, I had my friends, but like last week I said, some friends give you bad advice. Now, I probably would have, you know what I mean? I probably would have took her back because I was invested in her emotionally. But we never had that opportunity because we had so much space in between. She went to a different, not that our colleges was far away, but you know, when you're in college and you locked in and you're trying to do your thing, it's not like you all over the place. You kind of on campus doing your thing. If you got a job, you go to your job, and on the weekends you may um, get off and hang out a little bit. But and I always, you know, think about that like, man, maybe if I'd have had somebody older to talk to, they might have told, you know, gave me a different advice than someone my age who talked a good game, but wasn't like a ladies killer himself. But he was always giving me advice. But I guess you have to have that ability to want to forgive, and a lot of guys can't. And it's partly because our pride in stuff that we share with our homeboys, because some of our friends are quick to say, oh, damn, man, you stupid in the motherfucker. Man, ain't no way in hell. And you hear those comments, so you don't want to, so you say, all right, I got to put up this facade. But really, you want to take this person back. But I think that's why I probably always became a counselor, because I never, if it was my friends and they was going through something, I never kind of told them to treat a female a certain way. I always told them to do what's in their heart. And, you know, long as it's not self-destructive, you just got to go with it. And that was always kind of my approach. But that wasn't the feedback they always gave me. All right, enough of me on my soapbox. You know, from time to time, I share some personal insight. All right, so, and I know that this subject can go on, and we'll never get to the bottom of it. But I think it's just starting, you know, just to try to peel some layers off. So one of my talking points was, is it really true that women are better cheaters than men? And if so, why is that the case when men have more experience at doing it? Because people always say that men are kind of sloppy, and women, when they cheat, they have it all planned out, that guys never know what they're doing, and women could be doing it for years, and guys, like, they give up hints and clues. So what's your thoughts on that? Y'all can call in. Y'all don't have to type in. Y'all can call in. The number's 605-313-5375. Just stroll up to the top. The number is there in the description, and the code is 6542. So, Herb, what's your take on that? With
man, that's difficult to say. And to get off who's better at cheating, I will go to why it's more destructive when women do it. Imagine, if you will, a couple that's been married for 10 years. They have 2 kids. One's 8, one's 2. Man comes home to find out his wife has been having an affair for the last 3 years. What do you think that does to the family dynamic when he finds out that that last child isn't his? That's what a woman who cheats can accomplish. She can destroy more than just a man's ego. She has the potential to uproot families, cause chaos, and invite a firestorm where it didn't need to be. So as far as who's better at it, that depends on who wants to be more successful. Men generally seem not to care, because there's a lot of men's mindset is, well, I found one woman, I could find another. So the damage done from a male to a female perspective is different. I think, and I can't say this, I'm for sure I'm not a female. I think the damage that women suffer heals over time. Now, they may not completely trust another man, whereas a man is just not going to trust any female at all. Some females will work up to it. Just guys are just going to, any relationship they get into, they're going to do it with skepticism. And both genders have a propensity to punish people for the transgressions of someone else. And I think that really stops a lot of progression for relationships for people who had been hurt, who had been betrayed and been the victims of infidelity.
Yeah, so, and that's why sometimes it's hard. And me and Anwar just had a discussion in his Big Word blog series on YouTube. When you have women that say they don't have time for foolishness and they want to put everything on the table, and it leaves little room to have fun, because women, you know, they already have their guard up, and guys might go into a relationship where, like, you know, it's nice hanging out with her. We're having a good time, but not really putting that, all right, this is it. This is the big one right here. Me and her really could go places. When women may have, not all, but may have that set in their mind that they're looking for ultimately a long-term relationship. But I think the point I'm making is, if you don't break down them barriers to have that time to be able to have fun and laugh, then it's just like you're just gonna keep dating people, person after person, because eventually you're gonna run somebody off, or no one's gonna be good enough for you, or you're gonna always be looking for signs that this person did that, he's suspect, or I didn't like the way he responded or did that. So it's just crazy. Let me read Danielle's comment. She said, so how do you think the woman feel when he comes home and says he has a child outside of their marriage? Both are equally destructive. I don't know that anyone is better at it. Okay. Let me
address. Go ahead, Dave. Okay, I'll let you address it.
I just wanted to give a shout out to Angel Palmer thanks for joining, and Dorcas Marie, thanks for joining me tonight in the Counsel's Corner. But go ahead, you can address it.
Okay, Danielle, I want you to read back what you wrote, and there's something in there that answers your question that women do not consider. I'll give you 15 seconds. Okay, now, here's the catch. He came home and told her that he had a child outside of marriage. Women don't do that. That's the difference. A deceit and a lie that's hidden to cover up one's transgressions is always going to be worse than coming forward and admitting that you've done something. They're not equal. Like I said, one has the propensity to destroy families. Yes, it's just like the movie Fences. And I think if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend you seeing that movie. It's a microcosm of Danielle's comment. But a woman's infidelity has the propensity to destroy lives, because once that family is broken, almost inevitably, it can never be put back together the way it was.
And that leads to one of my talking points, that there was some research that said 8 to 15% of children have been fathered by men that thinks he's the biological father. And I said, why would anyone deceive a man regarding his child? So 8 to 15, that's not a large percentage, but just think that it's still significant enough that's that's painful. Because when you get an emotional attachment to a child and then you find out that it's not yours, and somebody made a post like, well, just pretty much get over it. What does it matter if you love the kid? But it's more. It's more than that, man. It's more than that. You gotta know it's more than that.
And I can guarantee you that a female made that post. Why? Because women are invested emotionally in the emotional well-being of a child, and understandably so, because at that stage of life, a child is emotionally vulnerable. The caveat is this: you're depriving that child of that father and that father's influence. And I can tell you a story. I can tell you a story about that from a personal perspective, but I'm not going to get into it. But that deprives that child of the ability to know his real family, to know where he or she came from, to understand why she might be different than her siblings. And I think women really don't really grasp that. Because I was hanging out with my family, everybody knows we family. They say, yeah, y'all all act alike. You put me with somebody else and I would be a misfit. There is no worse feeling in the world than being a misfit in your own family.
We got a couple more comments. Danielle said that's a scenario. The other woman would have called her and told her. Most men don't come forward. Regardless, he had an affair and had a child with someone else. How is that less destructive? And let me get to Marcia. She said, I personally feel that most men truly aren't wired to be able to forgive a woman who deeply hurts him regardless of the situation that may have occurred. He might be able to somewhat forgive, but never forget. He'll always remember and probably will use this incident to his advantage in further blow-ups they may have. Now, to go back to what Marcia said, and that was me when I was younger, that I used it to my advantage. I felt like I held the chips because she felt like she did me wrong and she wanted, forgiveness, and she was willing to do anything for us to get back together. And I was, kind of, it was on my terms. Not today. I want to be bothered. Oh, I want to be bothered this day. So, which didn't make it right. It was just stringing. It was just chaos, just total chaos. And I could go further with some of the scenarios that played out with this. But for the sake of time, I don't have time to do this. But that's the importance of tuning in to these situations, because we're sharing personal testimonies, and that's how you learn. I mean, the stuff is not made up by any means. So you're connected to, it's a real live connection. And, sometimes you think about it and you go back and you say, damn, like, if I would have did this or did that, this would have happened, or I would be in this position. But what can you do but move forward? So we got like 2 minutes left. See, I'll be so inclined because the conversation be good to like, man, hell, let's just keep rolling. But I just know when you play it back, it gets, it's too long. But I can go into overtime. At least I could go in overtime 10 more minutes, and that's it.
Okay, let me adjust what Danielle said.
All right.
Danielle, imagine, if you will, the scenario that I just gave you, that the man, the father of that child, wants that child, but her husband is saying, no, you're not taking my child. What do you think is going to happen next? It's going to end up in court. The attorney's going to prove that the child is his. You know what the judge is going to say? That man has every legal right to that child. It doesn't matter the time investment, the emotional investment that quote unquote stepfather has put in. This is why it's more destructive. It's easier to bring something in and continue than it is to take away in the familiar sense and continue. Because once you rip something apart, it's destroyed. It's the adage of the broken glass. So if you break a glass and you pick it back up and you put it together, there's always going to be fractures there. That glass is never going to be whole again. That's what it does. And in any scenario, it's not that it's more destructive per se, it's just that it leads to other types of situations that nobody ever really takes into account. Because as a man, if you father a child outside of the marriage-only relationship, that child doesn't necessarily have to come in. Now, any man worth his salt is going to want to take care of his child. So that child has to leave the household. He has to, if you're dealing with an upstanding man. So that's the difference.
Again, and this is why this is the importance of all of this, because we're going to view things differently, and what seems like no one outweighs the other one, but there is some different imbalances that play into affecting these things. But no matter what, at the end of the day, we know that this type of stuff is going on and is happening, and we're stuck on trying to repair it, but it don't seem like nobody really has interest to repair it, or we're not doing the right things to repair it. Because as Herbert said, and I'm going to use it as on a global thing, like either way, woman or man, that it's going to lead to destruction outside. Because now you got this school-age kid that's going to school. Mine ain't on no damn school. Mom and dad been arguing, carrying on, arguing. He hearing or she hearing bits and pieces of stuff, and stayed up all night, and now you got to go learn boring world history and stuff like that. So this is the impact of some of this stuff. And these kids, they just their mind is elsewhere. A lot of times their mind is elsewhere. Or you at work, can't perform at work because you was arguing all day with your woman because she stepped out or you stepped out. Now you got to go to work and be productive. And your job requires you to pay attention to details, and you have to be on point, and you have to have a solid mind. But you can't concentrate because all you worried about is getting off work and finishing this argument again. Because it's gonna be an argument again. Time you step in and y'all join forces again, it's gonna be a collision course. But you're supposed to go on and carry on and live life. Like, this stuff is crazy. Nicole said, "What makes a man feel he needs to cheat?" Who you asking, Nicole? What makes a man feel he needs to cheat? Some men cheat because that's what they know, and that's what they seen. It's been a part of their environment, and they may know it's wrong, and they may have that woman, and they'll say, I've been around. We'd had many of these conversations growing up, me and my boys, and they said, "Man, I got a good woman, man. She's good, man. I'm not right." Now he may say that in our circle, whatever, but he may not never share that with her. But that's just one of the reasons. And then the other ones, like women say, sometimes things is just not being fulfilled. You're looking for certain things, or sometimes men just greedy. They just like variety. There's so many reasons why these things happen. So many reasons. I can't even pinpoint one reason why, but it happens. And I don't know, you could be the best looking woman and have the best body and have the best job and all that stuff, and then you'll find out your man cheating with some big booty broad with about 5 missing teeth. And you wondering why. Why?
I think there's one word that clears up a lot of as to why men and women step outside of the relationship. And for me, it comes down to one simple thing, and that's value. What do we value? Do we value being honest, upfront, and moving with integrity, or do we not? Because if you don't, you're going to have, or the individual is going to have no compunction and no qualms against being unfaithful. They're going to be like, you know what? I'm going to do me, man. I don't care. I don't care what damage this causes. I don't care about this. I don't care about that. I'm going to get my rocks off because this is not happening at home, et cetera, and so forth. And I think once we start to value other humans and their feelings, whether you're male or female, you start to move differently. You start to do things differently. You start to behave differently.
Yeah. And I think when everything comes together and you with that person and you realize like your life is changing for the better, and all of a sudden you see the different changes, and it's not always financially, but just your whole comfort, your whole stratosphere. You're just feeling good about everything, and you're like, man, this is the best I felt. And I guess at that point, sometimes you may sit back and reflect and say, man, this is not, I am not trying to lose this feeling. I am not trying to, and that's when we say go back to values. I'm not trying to let this go because this is the best I ever felt in my life. And we have too many cliches and stuff. I'm living my best life and doing all that stuff. Garbage. Some people are a small percentage, but a lot of the stuff is just garbage and just made up, like, look at me, show and tell. And the ones that are, they're probably not the ones that are even telling anybody. They just in the cut, just enjoying it, smiling, strolling through the book like, look at these idiots. And just living life. People. I have so many talking points on this thing that, like I always tell people I talk to personally, like I never get through all of this stuff. It's impossible. But I just think just to have productive conversations and questions going back and forth with like Danielle and Nicole and Marcia and stuff like that. These are conversations that we need to have. No, it would be better if you were face to face and had these conversations instead of somebody.
I was just thinking sip and dip, man. Yeah. I was just thinking sip and dip.
Yeah, sip and dip instead of people out worried about spending $50 at Bib DeVoe or whatever. They like, man, I'm about to drop this $25 because this is once a month. It's a group of men, group of women. You got food. You got some cocktails, you got some wine, you got a little music, and we just talking, man. We just having good conversation. And what else could be better than that as you get older? But,
yeah, and that is home for me, boy.
But most of our people's minds are just not there. They're not there. Marcia says sometimes it takes being in a bad relationship to appreciate a good one, and sometimes we miss the opportunity because we are so broken that we fear to give another person a chance, and that happens a lot of times. There's a lot of people that you may look back and say, man, she was an okay person. She was a good person, but he was a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings me to the point where one of the talking points I said, when women say, what was the question? Like, he's too nice. Can anybody answer that quickly? Because I said we got 10 minutes overtime. Actually, that would bring us up until 1 minute left, but I think it's going into double overtime. 10:15, we closing it out. I'm addicted to these conversations, but 10:15, we closing out. What the hell does that mean when you say a guy is too nice? What does that mean? Isn't that what you want? Shouldn't you want that? Or you want a balance, or you say, because some women say, no, I don't want a yes man all the time, and you can still be nice and say no. It's not how you say it. It's not what you say. It's how you say it.
Well, Lord knows, I've heard that before, especially when I was younger. Oh, you're too nice for me, or you're too good for me. What that translates to is, I don't think you can stand up to me. I don't think you would be able to, quote unquote, keep me in line or keep me in check. And I asked myself, what man worth his salt wants to fight with his woman? Because if I have to fight to keep you, quote unquote, in check, if I have to reprimand you, then I might as well go have a kid. Because that's the type of relationship that is. That's an adult to kid relationship. That's not a peer-to-peer relationship. If a woman or a man needs to be kept in check, then they need to go find somebody that they can talk to, some therapist or something, so they can remedy the issues they have in terms of behaving like an adult. Because that message is the same to me. A woman that thinks a man is too nice, and I understand if he doesn't have any intestinal fortitude to say, look, this is how something's going to go. Not because it has to be, but because I say so. And the caveat that women are going to bring up, and they always do, well, what if he's always making a wrong decision? Well, if he's making a wrong decision and he consistently does that, then you need to choose a man that makes better decisions. That's the beginning, middle, and end of that. But if you have a man who has consistently demonstrated that he makes the correct decision, you need to sit down, put your ass in a proper position to follow his lead, because he's already established that he does well. He shouldn't need to qualify anything else. So that man that quote unquote that's nice, he's nice for a reason, because he doesn't have to be an asshole.
When you on top of your things and you don't have no frustrations and everything is good, and Danielle said it's a difference between pretty much nice and kind. And most people say nice, but if you throw kind in there, he's too kind. Well, I don't know if too many people ever use the word kind, but I think like what Herbert said, like when somebody's on top of everything and they're in a good position, shit, they're gonna be nice all day long, and you'll understand it. I'll give you a prime example, and we got like 3 minutes. When I first started working at Bryan and Stratton College, I had a supervisor, and boy, and me and my coworker, we both would be somehow running late a few minutes, a couple minutes here and there, and some days she just would be like, looking at her watch, and just barking at us as soon as we walk in, and we were like, well, damn, it was the traffic, the snow, and all that stuff, and she was just miserable. But then she started, she got into a relationship, and she got with this guy, and things suddenly changed. I would go on lunch break because I was notorious for taking my lunch break like later. So if I went on lunch break now granted I worked from like 9 to 5, 8 to 5, or whatever the case is, we had an hour lunch break. If I went to lunch at 1, which would be 1 from 2, it was time she would say, especially like on a Friday, have a good weekend, David. Huh? When she first said that, what do you mean? I'll be back, whatever. No, have a good weekend. And don't come back. And she's like, I'll just tell them you got sick or you were in the bathroom or you're so quiet, no one's going to pay attention to you. And that showed like that was growth for her because she realized, okay, he's valuable, she's valuable. My pieces in my life is coming together. She became nice and kind. I was like, man, I'm loving it, whatever. Get off early on Friday, whatever. Like, can't beat that, whatever. I mean, I learned a lot from her. And that's when I was a youngin', like 25 and stuff. But that just shows you, like, certain elements in your life can make you nice or kind or whatever the case is. So when you're at that point, some things don't even bother you. And you automatic that way. So I don't think people should just disregard and kind of say, oh, he's too nice or he's too kind. Some things may not even faze them. But don't take their kindness for a weakness. You know that phrase. Nicole said, nothing's wrong with a nice guy. Just don't be a weak man. Diane Coleman, PhD, said, you are amazing. No, Diane, you're amazing because what you have behind, you're amazing, period. But that PhD, man, that's looking real good. That's looking real good. real good. And it's lovely when you know, and I know the struggle you've been around, you know, the Highland Avenue and all of us growing up together. And you're a doctor, Dr. Diane. That's sweet. And that's the type of things that motivate me when you see that. So many people have told me you need to go ahead and get yours, David. I don't feel like doing it. I don't feel like doing it. But I don't feel like writing this or doing that. And I didn't have one of my old bosses like, Mr. David, I'll type your papers out. I'll do whatever for you because you deserve to be a doctor. Yeah. But yeah, you know, that'll come to me. All right, gang. It's 10:15. We went into double overtime, and again, these conversations, they're always going to be there. I guess if a conversation ends and there's nothing else to say about it, that was a wet conversation. So it's always going to be some other points to build on. This just happened to be this topic. We're going to delve it a little further and keep on building and keep growing. But you just got to share it, participate through the weekly discussions, let someone know, and let's build it up. And like I always said, and like Herbert said, sip and dip. Hey, let's bring this to the forefront, personal, in each other's face, and have these conversations. There's no hiding. The only way you can hide when you say, "Oh, I'm about to go to the bathroom," and then your ass in the bathroom too long.
I'll come to Baltimore. Yeah. I'll come down to Baltimore for that.
Yeah, man. And you know what? And I always be inclined to come back home and do it and start off there because I know I could get a core group of people, but I think this stuff should be all over the place, wherever, because it's needed. These conversations are needed. Marcia said it wasn't long enough, but it was a great conversational topic. Thanks again. Yeah, it's never long enough, Marcia, but I also, when you have to download this stuff and share, most people, they only got attention span for like 5-10 minutes or something, and then they're ready to check out unless it's their favorite movie or show. A lot of people live in a lot of folktale type of lives, and anything that might be really connected to them, they won't know parts of it. But with that said, again, thank you, Herb, for your segment and hanging with Herbert, and everybody that chimed in some words. Stay tuned for the watch party. I'll replay this a couple times, just like they do on regular TV. I'm doing it. I just don't get the ads and all that stuff, promotional stuff. But I'll keep it going because even if you clicked on it for like 15 or 20 minutes, it may be something that someone said or typed in that may have you thinking differently than you were thinking before. Herb, you got any closing words you want to say?
I do not, man. I'm about to hit this bathing apparatus, get suited up for work, go put in my 8, come back home and do it again.
All right. Appreciate you, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Take care. Next week.
All right. And for those stalkers that keep coming on, as you've seen, you got cut off or whatever the case is. Like, don't make no sense. Little hecklers, whatever. I'm prepared and ready to defend whatever you got coming. So keep on coming. That just let me know that you're watching me. And even though how inappropriate you are, people kind of tune out that because you look stupid. But all right, and I don't like using that word like that. But I'm out. Thank you all. Like I said, stay tuned for the watch party, and I appreciate you all. Please share again. Doesn't kill you to share, and let's keep moving forward. Everybody have a productive week. Everybody stay cool, whatever. I'm so tired of this damn weather. I can't wait till the fall weather come. I can't wait. I want to go outside and I can see my breath going, and I have to put on a winter hat with wool and all that stuff. I want to put on some earmuffs. That's how bad it is. I'm tired of this hot weather. All right, I'm out. So thank you all again. I'm out, and I appreciate you all. Peace.